my name is Remy, but you guys all know me as Judge Darlin.
It's been many, many years now that my darling has been wishing and dreaming to have her very own garden space. Since immigrating to Canada, she hasn't really had a nice garden space to call her own. So us buying this farm and slowly building this incredible garden space is somewhat making her dreams come true. And this is a little bit of a story about her gardening dreams. So what do you like best about gardening?
Gardening, I like gardening because this is my happy place. I wanna plant my own food, plant all the Filipino veggies that grow in the Philippines that I cannot get it here. Sometimes it's difficult to get the veggies here, so that's why I really try to plant all the veggies and fruits that I really love it.
We started building this garden about 3 years ago now, and we wanted to install a fence around the whole perimeter to protect it from wildlife and also from our dog Molly. But it just seemed a good idea to kind of separate the garden from the rest of the property, maybe to identify the garden. Shortly after though, we learned that the soil was not that great, so we decided to go with a raised bed system, and that meant building a bunch of raised beds, which I did, and bringing in a bunch of fresh soil, which we had to pay for, and we used cardboard to help combat the weeds. And we basically started filling up all these beds so that we could start gardening immediately rather than trying to amend the soil. For some of our really deep galvanized beds, we used the hugelkultur method to save a little bit on soil. We then purchased some rolls of geotextile, sometimes known as landscape fabric, and I like using the polypropylene style, which is kind of like a tarp, and this is really helping us to combat the weeds. It helps us make gardening a lot more enjoyable and easily identifies the different segment areas of our garden and makes it a bit more organized and aesthetically pleasing. You know, my daughter and I have been married now for almost 30 years, and we started our life together in Toronto, which is the big city here in Ontario, Canada. And we had a little house, you know, a little tiny little garden. Then we got a bigger house with a bigger garden, then a nicer house with a nicer garden. Then we got this farm because we couldn't take not having a bigger, better garden.
And Chad liked to build the things in here, like the duck house or ducky bunky that he call chicken coop. But me, I do gardening. Everything that I did here is gardening only. I want to plant all our veggies, all fruits, and different kinds of veggies. That's it.
Pretty much every time we come to the farm together, she's doing some kind of gardening. She doesn't come that often in the winter time, only when there's some cleaning to do after a guest in the farmhouse, because there's nothing much to do in the winter and it's cold and wet, and who wants to do that? But in the summertime, she's in the garden all the time. It's almost like her happy place, I'd say. Just like building things is kind of like my hobby, my happy thing to do.
Yeah. Every time I come here, I like to do gardening only. That's it. I used to garden in the Philippines with my mom and dad. That's how I get my first experience growing my own food. Bitter melon. This is one of my favorite veggies in the Philippines. That's why I planted here in Canada. And I love eating these. Favorite fruits here in the garden is the strawberry. The strawberry, I love it. And everything that I did here is I replant it again here because before this is so thin, and now it's become thick now because I always replant. This gives more strawberry every single year by doing every that. Every time it comes out or hanging here, I always replant it.
You know, my darling doesn't really ask me for much, but she did ask me for this garden. That's why I started building this whole fence, trying to segregate it from the rest of the farm. You know, maybe keep some of the critters out, keep the dogs out, because the dogs just like to ruin the beds. And it kind of identifies a little space that she can call her own on the farm.
When I'm in the garden, this is my happy place, and I'm so relaxed and I feel happy inside. Look at the size of this squash. I'm so happy when I'm in my garden. I'm so happy inside and out.
This year is a lot of firsts for us in this garden, you know, like this tromboncino squash. Look at the size of it. It's just incredible. It's the first time we've ever grown it. She's got a bunch of Filipino Asian type vegetables that she's grown successfully this year that she's never been successful before. We have so many peppers and eggplants this year, and we have lots of okras and lots of strawberries, and it's just been an incredible harvest year. And that just signifies and rewards us for all the hard work that we've been putting into this garden for the past few years. And we're still nowhere near done, because I still need to build a whole bunch more beds for her. I need to build another trellis like this structure right here, because we have a bunch of peas and stuff that like to climb up things. They don't do very well when they're not climbing. They just become a tangled mess. So she asked me to build her something simple. That's probably going to be on the docket for next year in the gardening season, but it's something to look forward to anyhow.
Here's another veggies that I like. We call in the Philippines sitaw, but I think here we call it long beans. And this is one of my favorite also. That's why I planted here. Okay, here's another one, okra. Growing up in the Philippines, my dad and I, we used to plant this okra. And my dad favorite veggies also. But me, I like it also. But not like bitter melon. I love bitter melon. Since our first house, I keep trying to grow bell peppers, but I have no luck. But this year, this is the best bell pepper that we ever had. Let's see. I freeze lots of bell peppers already. So this is the last, I think this is the last one now that we're gonna freeze. Okay, here's another veggies that we used to plant back home. We call this labanos, but here is white radish, and this is yummy for like for sinigang, or here we call soup. We plant this labanos for succession, but it's not ready to harvest it. And the cabbage too. We never grown a cabbage like this nice. We've been trying cabbage, but we never grow like this. So that's why we're so lucky. We harvest a lot this year.
You don't see my darling in all of the videos simply because she's the one that holds everything down for us in our life. And to make you guys understand what I'm talking about is, you know, she's sacrificed a lot. She does all of the chores at home. She always has food prepared for me. She does all the butcherings of all the chickens and the ducks. She prepares the dog foods. She still works. So her doing all of this for me and sacrificing and all the hard work allows me the extra time that I need to work on my YouTube stuff. And it means a lot to me. I love her for that, because she's always very supportive and she's got my back. So that's what you need. But YouTube, you know, takes almost all your time, really. God, I work on YouTube almost more than I do at my own work. And it's like, you choose to do it. I enjoy doing it. I would like to make some money out of YouTube eventually, but I feel like there's no way that I could spend as much time as I do if it wasn't for her. So the least I could do is give her a wicked awesome garden.
Viewers, thank you so much. Bye.